When the stage lights went down, Arnold Schwarzenegger thought this would be the end. He clutched the golden statue in his hand, walked into the dressing room, and stared at the mirror, but the man looking back wasn't someone he recognized anymore, not because of the dark circles under his eyes, but because of the emptiness in his soul. That night, Hollywood's strongest man was completely alone. Just 3 hours before the award ceremony, Arnold looked at his phone, and his heart stopped. The message was short but devastating. "I'm telling everyone everything. Press conference tomorrow at 10 a.m. M. That single letter represented a past Arnold had been trying to forget for 20 years. A mistake. A lie. And now that lie was about to destroy everything he'd built, brick by brick, like a pyramid collapsing from within. But Arnold didn't know yet that M's threat was only the beginning. The story actually started 32 years earlier, in a cramped gym in Munich where a 17-year-old Arnold was doing his 400th rep of the day. His shoulders were screaming, his hands were bleeding, but he kept going. Because back then, everyone told him the same thing. You'll never make it. His father said it. His teachers said it. Even his training partners said it behind his back. Too tall for bodybuilding. Too foreign for Hollywood. Too ambitious for politics. But Arnold had a secret weapon they didn't know about, a promise he made himself in that gym, written in blood and sweat. I will prove them all wrong. Wait, but here's the detail you can't miss. That promise came with a price Arnold never anticipated paying. Fast forward to 1977. Arnold had just won his 5th Mr. Olympia title. The crowd was chanting his name. Cameras were flashing everywhere. But in the chaos, a man in a dark suit approached him backstage. "Mr. Schwarzenegger, I have a proposition that will change your life." The man's name was Webb, a Hollywood producer with connections that went deeper than the film industry. He offered Arnold his first major movie role. But there was a condition, a small favor that seemed harmless at the time. Just sign this paper. Don't read it. Trust me, everyone does this. Arnold hesitated. Something felt wrong. The man's smile was too wide, his eyes too calculating. But Arnold thought about his dreams, America, fame, success. He thought about proving everyone wrong. So he signed. That signature would haunt him for the rest of his life. But Arnold had no idea what he'd actually agreed to. The movie was a hit. Then another. Then another. Arnold became a household name, the action hero everyone wanted to be. He married, became a father, and eventually entered politics. California's governor. The Austrian immigrant who conquered America. The ultimate success story. But success is a shadow, and Arnold's shadow was Marcus Webb. Every few years, Marcus would call, "Arnold, remember our agreement? I need a small favor." At first, they were innocent requests, endorsements, introductions, public appearances. But slowly, the favors became darker. A zoning permit here. A contract pushed through there. Political pressure applied in the right places. Arnold told himself he was still a good person. These were just compromises, right? Everyone in power made deals. That's how the system worked. But late at night, when he couldn't sleep, he heard his 17-year-old self asking, "Is this who you want to become?" Now here's where everything changed. 3 months before the award ceremony, Arnold decided to end it. He called Marcus and said, "No more. I'm done. Keep whatever leverage you think you have. I don't care anymore." There was silence on the other end of the line. Then Marcus laughed, a cold, mechanical sound. "Arnold, you have no idea what you've done. That paper you signed, it wasn't just a contract. It was a confession. Confession to what? To crimes you didn't commit. But with your signature, DNA evidence we collected over the years, and the right narrative, you're going to prison for a very long time, unless you cooperate." Arnold's blood turned to ice. "You're bluffing." "Am I? Check your email in 5 minutes." Arnold opened his laptop with trembling hands. The email contained photos, documents, fabricated evidence linking him to financial crimes, corruption charges, even worse. It was all fake, but it was perfect. No jury in the world would believe him over this mountain of manufactured proof. For the first time since he was 17 years old, Arnold Schwarzenegger felt powerless. That was 3 months ago. Since then, Arnold had been searching desperately for a way out. He hired private investigators, lawyers, even reached out to old friends in Austria who specialize in, let's call it, problem solving. But Marcus was always 3 steps ahead. The man was a ghost. No criminal record. No traceable connections. Just a puppet master who'd been pulling string for decades, collecting powerful people like Arnold and turning them into assets. You won't believe this, but Arnold discovered he wasn't Marcus's only victim. There were 12 other senators, CEOs, celebrities, all trapped in the same web. Arnold tried to contact them, to form an alliance, but every single one refused. They were too afraid, too compromised, too deep in the lie. So Arnold made a decision that went against everything he believed in. If he couldn't fight Marcus through legal means, he'd have to become someone he swore he'd never be. He started playing Marcus's game. Arnold began complying with the favors again, but this time he documented everything. Every call recorded, every meeting photographed, every dirty deal traced back to its source. He was building his own case, slowly, methodically, the same way he built his body in that Munich gym decades ago. But Marcus was smart, too smart. He noticed a change in Arnold's behavior. The compliance was too smooth, too cooperative, and that's when Marcus sent the text message. I'm telling everyone everything. Press conference tomorrow at 10 a.m. Back in the dressing room. Arnold stared at his phone. 10 hours until Marcus destroyed him. 10 hours to figure out how to stop a man who didn't exist on paper, who operated in shadows, who had enough manufactured evidence to bury Arnold forever. The award statue sat on the table, gleaming gold and hollow, just like Arnold's entire life felt in that moment. Then his phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Parking garage. Level B3. 5 minutes. Come alone, friend. Arnold's instinct screamed trap. But what choice did he have? He pocketed the phone, left the statue behind, and took the elevator down. Each floor that passed felt like descending into a different reality. The glittering success story on the surface, the dark truth below. Level B3 was empty except for a single car, a black sedan with tinted windows. As Arnold approached, the back door opened. Inside sat a woman in her 60s, elegant but weary-looking. Her eyes held the same exhaustion Arnold saw in his own mirror. Governor Schwarzenegger, she said. My name is Margaret Chen. I'm the who sent you that text. Arnold froze. You're Marcus. No, I'm his first victim. 35 years ago, I signed the same paper you did. I've been trapped ever since. But I'm dying, Arnold. Cancer. 6 months, maybe less. And I've decided that before I go, I'm taking Marcus Webb down with me. She handed Arnold a USB drive. Everything. His real identity. His network. The original papers we all signed. The ones that proved their forgeries. Bank accounts. Aliases. Safe houses. I've spent 3 decades collecting this while pretending to be his loyal servant. Arnold held the drive like it was a bomb. Why me? Why now? Margaret smiled sadly. Because you were the only one who tried to fight back. The only one who said no. The others, they became him. They enjoyed the corruption. But you still have that 17-year-old kid inside you who just wanted to prove people wrong through hard work and discipline. So the press conference tomorrow is me. I'm announcing everything. Marcus will be arrested. So will several others in his network. Your name will be cleared because I have proof you were coerced. But Arnold, her voice cracked. Some of those favors you did, people were hurt, businesses destroyed, lives ruined. You'll be legally innocent, but morally, that's between you and your conscience. The weight of 20 years crashed down on Arnold's shoulders. He thought about the people who'd suffered because of the deals he'd made, the compromises, the rationalizations. Standing in that parking garage, he wasn't Hollywood's action hero or California's powerful governor. He was just a man who'd made terrible choices, even if those choices were made under duress. What do you want from me? Arnold asked quietly. Testify. Tell the truth. All of it. The good, the bad, and the shameful. You want to prove everyone wrong? then prove that success without integrity is just another kind of failure. Arnold looked at the USB drive in his hand, then at Margaret, this brave woman who'd suffered in silence for 35 years just to prepare this one moment of justice. Then he thought about his children, his legacy, and that promise he'd made to his 17-year-old self. The promise wasn't just about success. It was about becoming someone worthy of it. "Okay," Arnold said. "I'll testify." Margaret nodded, closed her eyes with relief, and the car door shut. Arnold stood in the empty parking garage, holding the USB drive that would destroy his reputation while saving his soul. He took the elevator back up, walked past the award ceremony still happening somewhere in the building, all those fake smiles and hollow congratulations. He went straight to his lawyer's office and handed over the drive. "Call the FBI," Arnold said. "Tell them I'm ready to make a statement." His lawyer stared at him. "Arnold, this will end your career. Everything you've built." "I know, but I'd rather be a failure with integrity than a success built on lies." The next morning, Margaret Chen held her press conference. Arnold sat beside her, facing a room full of reporters and cameras. Together, they dismantled Marcus Webb's empire piece by piece. Arnold confessed the favors, the compromises, the moral failures. It was the hardest thing he'd ever done, harder than any workout, any movie stunt, any political campaign. Because this time, he couldn't rely on his muscles or his charisma, just the truth. When it was over, Arnold walked out of the building into a crowd of protesters and supporters mixed together. Some threw insults. Others thanked him for his honesty. He kept walking, head high, feeling lighter than he had in 20 years. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You always wanted to prove them wrong. Arnold, today, you prove yourself right." Margaret, in her final months, she'd given him something more valuable than any award or political office, a second chance. Arnold returned to Austria for a while, to that old gym in Munich where it all began. He stood in the same spot where his 17-year-old self had made that promise. This time, he made a new one. Success without character is worthless. I'll spend the rest of my life proving that too. He started a foundation for people trapped in coercive contracts, worked with law enforcement to identify Marcus's other victims, and slowly, painfully, tried to make amends to those hurt by his compromises. The media called it a redemption arc. Arnold called it accountability. 5 years later, Arnold received a letter from Margaret's daughter. Her mother had passed peacefully, knowing she'd freed 12 people from Marcus Webb's control. The letter included a photo, young Margaret in a gym, determination in her eyes, probably making her own promise about proving people wrong. Arnold framed it and hung it in his office, next to a mirror. Every morning, he looked at both, the woman who saved him and the man he was still trying to become. Because the real story wasn't about muscles or movies or political power. It was about a 17-year-old kid who promised to prove everyone wrong, got lost along the way, and finally learned that the only person he needed to prove anything to was himself. The price of reaching the summit? Everything you're willing to sacrifice. The cost of staying there with integrity? Admitting when you failed. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is admit you're not as strong as everyone thinks you are. Arnold still works out every day, still pushes himself past his limits. But now, when he looks in the mirror, he sees someone he recognizes. Not perfect, not without scars, but honest. And for the first time since those stage lights went down that night, Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't alone anymore. He had himself back.